for those that don't know, come from back to the 60s and 70s, and it literally means in Italian, and I'll be corrected no doubt, uplifting or give yourself a little bit of a lift. And that's ultimately what this dessert is. In particular, the contents of, or the ingredients of that will give that rise. And that being coffee. Okay, so there's a number of things that we're going to add into this. You need sweet biscuits or ladyfingers or Savoiardi biscuits that we're going to layer up. We need to make meringue. We need to make mascarpone with some flavour. You don't need to use white chocolate. What I'm doing with the meringue kind of mixture, I'm using eggs rather than cream. You could do a creamy one, but I find it's a little bit heavy. So you want to bring that lightness up by folding in some meringue mixture. So I'll take you through that process. Layer on layer, a couple of layers of it with the biscuits as such, and it really soaks up some of the frangelico and that coffee in those biscuits, which I'll show you shortly. Cocoa on top. Now the key to a number of kind of tips or tricks is don't soak these too long in the mixture, in the coffee, which we're going to show you what that means, because they will fall apart. So you really want to be able to do it quickly. And another little trick too, so I've done, that's 4 large espressos. So I've done 4 large espressos. That's cooled down a little bit, not too bad. And what I want to add to that is some frangelico. You don't have to add alcohol. You could add rum if you wanted to, or frangelico, or coffee liqueur, or leave it as is, just with the coffee. I love the flavour of that kind of almondy hazelnut liqueur. So let's just put in a, look, you can be generous with this because it's a lift me up kind of dessert. So I'm just going to go just going to go 60. Let's go 80 mils of that, because we will be using a little bit more of this when we put it into the mascarpone. But essentially this is for, I'm just going to whisk that up quickly. Essentially this is for just dipping in these ladyfinger biscuits. So let's just mix that in. So the last tip I want to give you is, when you pull this all together, it needs about 4 or 6 hours in the fridge, okay, before you serve it. But don't do this. Don't put the cocoa on top until you're about to serve it, because the cocoa will just sit in there and soak through the mascarpone. You don't want that. You want that light cocoa at the end. And what I'm going to do on top of the cocoa, again, you don't have to do it, I'm going to scrape in some white chocolate, just through some of the layers as well, just to give it a little bit of extra hit of flavour as we go through. So, a few things here. Just going to give that a bit of a stir. Now, I'm not going to drag you through the whole process here, but ultimately what we're going to do is, I want to move those aside first, because I'll do this first. Really get this soaking process happening. I'm thinking I might even use a pair of tongs just to make it a bit easier. And it's literally a case of not spilling it for a start. It's a case of dropping it in. Don't leave it in more than a couple of seconds, because they will fall apart. Okay, you just want to grab a little bit of that flavour and layer those in. Give them a bit of a turn. 1, 2, probably don't need a fork in there, because they will start to soften up. They are, you're literally softening up really quickly. Okay, so what you're going to do, just soak these through. You don't have to spend the whole time with me while I'm doing this, but I'm going to, oops, so you can see that's going to break up if you're not careful. And I'm just going to do that full layer of these, and then we're going to get the egg whites going. So let me just do this, we'll come back and we'll show you what the egg whites process is. You can see I've got my first layer. Sometimes you'll put the mascarpone mixture underneath. I've just done it like that. It'll soak through anyway. You can see there's some gaps in there. And I'll just get you to come a bit closer. You'll see these literally were in there for a second, right? And these traditionally hard bickies are now soft bickies, okay? They've soaked up some of that frangelico and that espresso Lavazza coffee. Okay, so I want a couple of things here. I want to do the egg whites, so I really want to get that meringue happening. So we've split 8 eggs. So you could, depending on how much you use, I want to use a third mascarpone, because I'm even thinking I might get 3 layers in, honestly, because I've got quite a deep dish there. But I've kind of doubled the recipe a little bit. So I've got 8 eggs split into yolks and whites, okay? Important, yolks and whites. So in there, if that doesn't slip off, 8 egg whites, carefully putting that. Now what you want to do is put this on. Look, you could hand beat this, it takes a lot longer. Or this is going to take about 3 to 5 minutes until you get that really kind of, that fluffy, and then what it calls the peaks of the meringue. But we are actually going to add just a third to a half a cup of sugar, just gently in this through a process. So let's get this going and get this. Just be careful we don't go too fast at the start, because you'll have egg whites flying out. Okay, so just slowly increase the speed there. Okay. And it's about half of the mixture. Increase the speed a little bit. Just slowly adding that granulated sugar in. Okay. There's only half one. Another one in there. And be patient with this. It takes a while. You know, nothing happens quickly, so just be patient. So there's about a third of a cup of granulated white sugar. And again, just watch the speed. So you can see that starting to drop up a little bit, but you want that kind of a really whitey, just turn up a little bit, that really whitey meringue, which, as I said before, this lightens the flavour of the mascarpone. So now you don't have to use mascarpone. If you can't get your hands on mascarpone, you could use a Philadelphia cheese. This has got a kind of a lighter flavour to that. We're going to add a little bit of vanilla bean paste to it as well. Again, you don't have to, just to get some of those extra flavours. Okay, so let's not far off. You can see that really starting to froth up. The air's coming right, and it really, the sugar itself is breaking up into that. That's it, just a couple of minutes on that. And then we're going to leave it in that bowl, and we're going to do the eggs yolks in here with the mascarpone, and we're going to fold that in. So just looking at that now, you can see that really changing. You want those kind of peaks. I'll show you what that peaks process means in a second. We'll just get close to that. Beautiful. And the key is you're folding it in. You're not just slapping it on and killing, because this is lifting up in air. As you imagine when you're making meringues and you put it in the oven, it just keeps them really light and fluffy. So you don't want to squash that down and lose that air. So, see those little peaks? Perfect, absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to put that aside. Get as much of that around. Now spatulas are going to be your friends for a number of reasons. I'm going to show you a few processes. But again, you're not overworking this meringue. So just get what you can off there. Doesn't really matter too much. Give that a little quick rinse. I'm just going to set this process up and we'll come back to you. That meringue, beautiful, set aside, cleaned. You don't have to clean it, I like cleaning it. Just there your 8 egg yolks. Again, let's just try and get as much as we can into the dish with your spatula. Of course, that doesn't need to stay in there. I'm going to beat this for about 2 minutes. I'm going to put in about a third of a cup of sugar. That's about a bit and a bit, just a little bit more sugar. Don't have to overdo it because we've got lots of kind of different flavors in it. I'm going to beat this for about 2 minutes, and then we're going to add in the mascarpone in as well. Okay? And then we're going to add a little bit of vanilla paste. You just want to make this, you can see, you just want to make this beat up a little bit, just because of that pale yellow colour, which is not too long. And we're going to add in a couple of things here. I'm just also going to scrape, just when I'm done, I'm just going to scrape the egg just down the side of the bowl. Okay, just mixing that up, and again, this is just the added that flavour. This is where you can substitute the eggs for cream, okay? But we're going to keep it as eggs, fluffiness of the meringue, and that mascarpone. Okay, you can see it's changing. It's going a little bit lighter. It's because it's getting that airiness into it. Okay. Now again, I just want to help so I turn it off. Just going to scrape that right to the edge there. So it's picked up all that sugar. Now, mascarpone, again, if you want to use a Philadelphia cheese, you could, but we've got this beautifully flavoured mascarpone there. So we want to, you could use 1 or 2, but given that I want to try and do almost 3 layers, I'm thinking, I'm going to add 3 of these. They're about 400, they're 250 grams, so 450. Just add that in. Now to this, I'm going to also add some vanilla extract, just a little teaspoon of vanilla extract because they're quite strong in flavour, and it's quite a nice flavour, that mascarpone, very much like a creme fraiche. Okay, so 3 of those. So vanilla extract. I'm just going to put a pinch of salt in too, just to give it a sort of salty caramel kind of vibe. A bit of there, so literally just a pinch of salt. That's the vanilla paste, a little bit of vanilla paste that I'll pop in there. Incredible smell, that vanilla paste. If you had vanilla bean, you'd kind of mix that right in as well. There we go. So vanilla paste, and just that last ingredient here, as we mix this through, don't have to do it because you can have this on the side later. Just one of those little frangelicos to keep it lifting. So get the spatula cleaner with that mascarpone out of there, and we're just going to mix this again. Just going not too fast, and you're really just mixing all the kind of flavours in together. Now this is where you're going to use the spatula just to push down the side. You can see it. So just on the edges there. So you're literally just picking up all those kind of that contents that we just had there. Just gives that really beautiful flavour. So let's have a look. Just going to bring that up here. Bring that all in, just so you can see all that on the edge. Okay. Now I'm just going to move a couple of things here because we don't need this beater again, because we're actually not going to beat the meringue. We're going to fold it in, like I said before, give that fluffiness. Just put that out of the way. Can switch that off, move this out, give yourself a little bit more space, and literally fold it out. I just want to use a cleaner spatula if I can. When I say cleaner, that means I need to do a bit of white. Now remember, we've only done one layer of those, so we're going to put this fold in just half of this meringue. So you're doing half and half, so just look at that, literally fluffy. But if you put it all at once, it's just going to kind of get a bit sticked up. So let's just fold it in. You're not beating it as such, you're just literally folding it in, bringing it all together. Try not to lose too much of that air that's been formed from the egg whites. Just literally folding it in. Okay, so you're just get down the bottom so you can get as much of that mascarpone mixture in. And just with the rest of it, again, just fold that in. And that becomes the middle mixture of all these little wonderful layers of the tiramisu. So, done, fold. Okay, same sort of process, don't overdo it. Just fold it through, nice and light. And going to layer upon layer, just get right down the bottom again. What you want to actually do is just, when you start to notice the colour, kind of get that yellowy mascarpone rather than the white, you kind of know you've got the right combo of folding of the meringue into the mascarpone. And you can literally hear the lightness in that. So, let's leave that for a second. Come back here. I'm probably going to need to do a little bit more coffee for that next batch, so I'm going to do that. But before I do, I'm going to, a couple of things. I want to, as I said, I want to shave some of this white chocolate. You don't have to do this, absolutely not imperative, but it gives it some additional flavour. Keep all these very sharp in between layers, okay? And of course, I'm thinking of doing this on the top of the final layer as well. From a visual point of view, some of that dark cocoa and then some of that white shaved chocolate. So, just going to do that. I'm going to show you. I'm going to fold this first layer in, and then we'll come back and show you what that kind of end product looks like. So let's just quickly do this. Literally just spreading it on. Again, be mindful of the lightness of it. You can see that just right up to the edge there. Put it on and then you can just splash it around, because we want to try and do the 3 layers, hence why I've got so much that mascarpone. And once this goes in the fridge, it will kind of, it'll go a little bit obviously harder, but you'll get that kind of more that structure as well, and you'll be able to fold this out with a beautiful spoon when you're serving it. So, what I'm going to do with that, just that little sprinkle of the white chocolate there, just a little hidden taste, beautiful. We're going to do some more coffee, we're going to do another layer, and I'm going to show you what the end product looks like. Okay, so I've managed to get 3 layers of the ladyfinger Savoiardi biscuits in there. They've been soaked with the mascarpone on top. So that's just going to settle. Now just be careful when you cover that, because you don't want the cling wrap to touch it, because it will lift up. So just be careful. We might even set something above that just so it doesn't sit there. And then I want to leave that in the fridge overnight. And then tomorrow, or when we serve that up with some cocoa, just sprinkle some cocoa on the top, okay? But do it when you're about to serve. Don't do it now, because it will soak in and it will change the whole consistency. So that's it, your tiramisu. I'll show you what that looks like when we bring it out tomorrow and serve it up.